Cheers, y'all.
Sound of a party.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known worldwide as
Hi, Mom.
the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to the show. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 243.
That's halfway to 300.
It's really just about there, isn't it?
I did the math.
I'm very excited. Math is not our strong suit, but then again, neither is much of any of the rest of stuff that we do on the show. So we'll just wing it.
I'm pretty good at drinking, though.
Yeah. It was funny. Our guest is John Kraft from LongDrink Cocktails, and John mentioned before the show started he has one of these that's stronger, and he said something like, I thought you guys seem like you like to drink, and I'm like, what gave us away? I mean, what was your first?
I've got 3 years of experience.
Okay.
I'm noticing people.
Yeah, it's really not that hard to tell. Well, we like to drink, we like to smoke cigars, and we like to have a good time. Today's show, our show title is "Drink Like a Finn." Plus the 21 best bourbons. So we will be talking about a new list. Actually, it's not a new list. I've had this for a while. We've teased it before and never gotten to it. We will get to it today. Men's Health Magazine, which always has guys on the front with no shirt on that look so much like me. It's uncanny. Sometimes I look and go, "Is that a photo? Where did they get that photo of me?"
I don't have any hair on my back either.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I'm like, that guy's got six-pack abs just like I do. But no, Men's Health Magazine, it's actually a very good magazine. I do read it from time to time. What I'm not quite clear on is why Men's Health is doing a list of the 21 best bourbons. I mean, it doesn't seem like a health thing, I guess is what I'm getting
bourbon's
to.
good for you.
Well, it is good for you.
It's good for your soul anyway.
And maybe Men's Health is coming around, They're realizing that, some of these things that maybe aren't so good for you are good for you in other ways.
Too much of anything is not good for you.
That's right. That's absolutely right. We always say practice in moderation and don't go overboard until the practice is over and the real event arrives.
There you go.
That's what I always say. That's my personal motto that I like to live for. So John Kraft is here. I was very excited when Mary told me, because we originally had someone else's name from LongDrink that was going to be on the show, and she said, no, it's going to be John Kraft. I'm like, Jonathan Kraft? Of the Kraft family, the New England Patriots? Are you kidding me? But it's a different John
Different
Kraft.
Kraft. Yeah, different Kraft.
In fact, yours is spelled with a C.
It is spelled with a C. Yes.
So LongDrink canned cocktails. We'll be trying these out, and I understand that this product originated in Finland.
It is.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so in Finland, they drink almost 10 gallons each year. So it's their basically a national beverage. So they drink like a Coca-Cola for them.
Wow.
But it is boozy.
That's awesome.
It is boozy.
I love the Finnish people. They're just
Right?
It's just such it's a different attitude, I think, about many things in life. So didn't it originate with like an Olympics?
It is,
that happened there?
And that kind of coincides with this year's Olympics. They created it for the Olympics, the first Olympics after World War II. It's actually it was actually their best Olympics for medaling that year, and it was they're genuinely worried how they're going to provide enough alcohol for everybody, and so they came up with LongDrink, and it was so great. The citizens of Finland said, "Hey, you have to keep making this."
And we'll get to more of this as the show continues. But is this just now kind of newly available in the United States?
So we've been around for almost 3.5 years. Started in New York.
Okay.
A group of Finnish guys and some Americans as well. So there's 3 Finnish founders and an American founder.
Okay.
And so a bunch of young entrepreneurs brought to America.
Well, we are looking forward to doing some tasting, and I'm excited about it because I've never had one. So this is going to be, and we'll get you to tell us all about, what kind of alcohols in each one and how how you've come up with the recipes, and we'll do some tasting, and that should be fun. We're also tasting beer today, which surprises essentially no one, from Richmond, Virginia. And the Hardywood Park Craft Brewery will be tasting their Fightin Hokies lager. They did it in conjunction with the college, and so it's like when you're in college, you don't need anyone to come up with another reason to encourage you to drink beer. But they have at Hardywood Park, and it's a very interesting. It comes in one of those little squatty bottles, like like a few of them do. So I'm excited to be able to taste that. The next one, Ian, I have already tried this, but I'm bringing it on the show because I'm really curious about what your reaction will be to it. From here in Houston.
We've just turned it into a reaction video.
Well, yeah, maybe we should. Yeah. Ian reacts to. No, here in Houston, Equal Parts Brewing Company. We're working on getting those guys on the show, and we will in a future episode. But they have an IPA called Saharan Dust.
So Equal Parts is new.
Yes.
They are formerly a different brewery. They were something else. They're right over off of Navigation.
Right. And they're
right by downtown. And they were a different brewery, and I'm blanking on the name right now.
We'll figure that out, and certainly we'll have them on, and they can tell us the whole story, because it's probably a good one.
Right.
But yes, their IPA, and I don't know whether this is a seasonal or a part of the regular line, but it just came out. It's called Saharan Dust. And, I don't know if you've followed any of the news stuff, but apparently dust from the Sahara Desert has made its way all the way across the ocean, and is here with us now, coating our automobiles and making us sneeze and all that kind of thing. So it was interesting. I thought they named a beer after it, but I'm really interested to see how you respond to this particular IPA. And then from Perennial, Artisan Ales, we'll be trying their Abraxas 2020. It is an ale. I don't think it's it's not a barley wine ale, but it's an ale with all kinds of different aging applied to it, and different types. It comes in one of the big bomber bottles, like a big imperial stout. But I'm looking forward to this, if for no other reason than Abraxas is like my favorite Santana album.
It's a great album.
It really is a great album.
Unbelievable.
Although, are there really any bad Santana albums?
Also, the first appearance of a Mesa Boogie amplifier.
Yeah.
Which is an
Abraxas,
amplifier
right?
made by Mesa Corporation, Incorporated, Mesa, whatever the name of the company is. And he goes, man, this ain't really Boogie. So they just named that model the Boogie.
That's
so when
great.
you see the name, it's Mesa/Boogie.
I love Carlos Santana. Every time I've seen him interviewed or something, he just seems like the most chill, like laid back guy. And then he gets on the guitar and he just absolutely like shreds. But I've always, in my mind, I feel like there should be like a Carlos Santana biopic. They should do a movie about his life, and he has to be played by Edward James Olmos, because they look identical. It's like they're the same guy, except
The older years, yeah.
Yeah, except Edward would have to learn to play guitar, I guess. But anyway, I don't know why I got off on that. Perennial Artisan Ales, we've had some of their beers on the show before, and they've been terrific. So looking forward to all of that. And, of course, LongDrink canned cocktails. We'll be tasting 4 different expressions of that. And we have, we'll talk about the best bourbons. We didn't get to this list last week of the 22 best gifts to get a beer lover, so we'll try to squeak that in. And there's been a new blow.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
number 1 is beer.
Yes, I think we got that far on the list, and then that may have been as far as we went. We do have next week our Smoking a Toast and legal expert Trey Boring will be here, and I'm really wanting him to explain this because we've had so much good news about the legislation and premium cigars being exempted from this FDA legislation.
Right.
And this week, apparently, there was a major drawback. A court in Washington, D.C., struck down the idea of exempting premium cigars from this legislation. So to be honest with you, I don't know where it stands, but we'll have a short report on that today, and then Trey Boring will lay it all out for us next week.
It stands in frustration, mostly.
Yeah, it really, it's so back and forth. It's absolutely crazy. But as frustrating as that may be, we will once again be having the most popular segment on the show. Returns once again, and that would be your Drinking News.
Drinking News.
Yeah, Drinking News is, of course, the part of the show where we feature a story that may or may not be about drinking, but is probably always best enjoyed if you are drinking. And by that time, we'll be doing plenty of that. So today's Drinking News teaser headline, Gimme That Sweaty Money. So
That sounds great.
It does sound good, doesn't it? So a lot of great things to come on the show. We will be looking forward to finding out more about LongDrink and doing some sampling here. There's such an interesting movement right now in the spirit and beer and alcoholic beverage community. Ciders are coming on strong. We all know about all of the hard seltzer things that have been coming out, and canned cocktails have been making more and more noise.
It's over 300 are getting approved labels like a month.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I will say, just off the top of my head, the canned cocktails that I have tried, I've enjoyed more than the hard seltzers. To me, and we did a whole blind taste test of hard seltzer on the show. To me, there's a few that I've been able to identify that I like, but so many of them have that
nasty,
that sort of saccharine aftertaste,
yeah,
that I don't have. So canned cocktails don't seem to have that issue. So I'm excited about tasting these and getting a few of them in the fridge, as it were. We'll also talk about a few new cigars to watch for. And speaking of cigars, I was wondering, Ian, if you had the opportunity to smoke anything interesting this week.
I tried something that was new to me.
Yeah?
I don't know how new it is. I didn't look up all the pertinence on it, except for the basics. But I tried the Cornelius and Anthony Daddy Mac.
Oh yeah, now I've had that cigar before.
You have.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Let me tell you about it.
I dug it.
I had the Corona Gorda. This is a 5.5 by 46 with the Brazilian wrapper, Ecuadorian binder, Nicaraguan filler. The appearance on this light brown, kind of dark tan, whatever, somewhere in between those two, maybe milk chocolate, call it whatever you want, wrapper. It's a real pretty cigar, semi-smooth with some veins in it, firm overall with some soft spots, 2 labels on it. It had the Cornelius and Anthony label and then a little Daddy Mac label underneath it.
Doesn't Cornelius and Anthony sound more like a steakhouse than a cigar company?
Doesn't it?
It's like, hey, we're going to Cornelius and Anthony's and get a T-bone.
And they never pop into my head when I'm thinking about cigars, but when I see them, I like a lot of their stuff. So I've always enjoyed them. The pre-light sniff on this, earth, barnyard, fresh brewed coffee, some fall leaves. You know that smell in the air when the leaves are hitting the ground and stuff. It's really nice. The
fall, by the way, here in Houston is scheduled for October 17th.
Yes,
and then
and will be
it will
thoroughly over by the 19th.
By the 19th, that's right.
All the trees, the leaves just drop.
Leaves will be down.
Done.
Boom. Yeah, temperatures won't have that fall crispness anymore. It's just the way it works, right?
That's when the hot and rainy season turns to the cold and rainy season.
Yeah, that's right.
Or tepid and rainy season, depending on where you're from. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. The draw was effortless, almost too loose.
Sometimes,
It was. It had me a little worried at first. The flavors I got on the pre-light draw: rich earth, dark fruit, creamy coffee, kind of a sweetness underlying flavor in there. The initial light on this was a burst of pepper and campfire and burning hay, but kind of in a good way.
I got you. Yep.
Kind of in a good way. The retro hail is all pepper at this point in time, and it is very full strength from the first puff of this.
That's what I recall as well.
The first third of this, once that initial light, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch into this settles down, it goes to a medium strength. The pepper settles in, gives way to oak, cedar, hay, tangy spices and leather, hints of cocoa floating around. Had a flaky ash on it that stuck together okay. Had a great burn, didn't spill the ash on myself. The second third of this, coffee and hazelnut take center stage, supported by sweet cocoa, oak, and cedar. Retro hail is cedar backed by pepper. Flaky ash, great burn.
Nice.
The last third of this cigar, sweet nuttiness and cedar take prominence, followed by cocoa, coffee, and pepper. Rich earth and leather thread throughout. Strength ramps up to full in the last third of this, definitely. The retro hail is sweet and peppery. Flaky ash, great burn. On the price to quality, this was a 5.5 by 46 cigar. It's not a real big cigar, not super tiny.
Mm-hmm.
It burned longer than I thought, especially with as free as the
as free as
the draw was on it. I expected it to burn much, much faster than that. I gave it a 5. It was worth the $9 that I paid for it.
Nice.
Absolutely, and I would buy it again. I love the flavors on it. I think I want to try a couple of the bigger sizes of it too.
Yeah.
So I'll actually pick up a few more of those.
I think the one that I smoked was a larger size, not huge. But
They
I
have
think it was a
three
larger
sizes of
one.
them at the store where I was at, and I picked the smallest one because I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to smoke the whole thing. So
John, our price to quality scale is a 1 to 10 scale, but it's a little different than some people because we will give something a 5 if we feel like you got exactly what you paid for.
Okay.
If it
fair.
punches above its weight in terms of like you wouldn't have been disappointed had it cost a little more, it can score above a 5. If it scores below a 5, it might still have been good, but maybe not what you were expecting for the price. So the more expensive a cigar, the tougher it is to get above a 5 because you might smoke a $15 cigar and it might be terrific.
But it's a $15
But it's a
cigar.
$15 cigar, and it should
Yeah.
be terrific, you know. So, my cigar was right around the same general price range as yours, Ian. I smoked the Aganorsa Leaf JFR Lunatic Torch. And mine, the size of this one was called Dreamlands, but it was basically like a long Toro, basically.
Yeah, and JFR is just for retail.
Yeah, right. You can't get these online.
Right.
You got to pick them up in your local cigar store, which we encourage you to do. And I got this one at Casa de Monte Cristo and said hello to Steve and enjoyed this one. Nice looking 6x60 tightly packed cigar with one of those shaggy foots. And I looked on the Aganorsa Leaf website and discovered they call it a brush foot cigar. When
A brush
right.
foot.
So the shaggy foot is when they basically roll the cigar, put the wrapper on it, and then the roller will go and basically take off the last maybe half inch, sometimes more, of the wrapper tobacco so that you get this shaggy foot with just the binder and filler. And the idea behind it is it gives you a chance to sort of taste the flavor of just the binder and the filler, and then the cigar burns in a little further, and the wrapper starts to add its flavor to the blend.
Right.
So it's an interesting
It gives you a little
thing to do.
gentler
A
initial
little gentler
light
start,
too,
yeah. Although in this case, I'm not sure if that was exactly what happened. But the Lunatic line has been around for a while, but it kind of disappeared. They never like officially said it was over, but they stopped making them for a little while, and then JFR kind of kicked back in and resurrected the Lunatic Torch in the spring of last year during the pandemic. So the torch is a Nicaraguan Puro. It uses a Corojo 99 wrapper, but it was grown in the Jalapa Valley. And then all of the binder and filler tobacco is Nicaraguan as well. The pre-light was full of different scents. Sometimes, when you do the pre-light, you only sort of get a tobacco vibe or maybe barnyard or leather or just kind of one note. This one had barnyard, leather, tea leaf, and a hint of roasted almonds. I don't know if I've ever gotten like 4 distinct things on just the pre-light sniff and the draw. I used a punch and I lit the foot. And this surprised me a little bit because I was expecting it to start more mellow, but boom, here came the spice. Black pepper, a little hint of cayenne, and then once the wrapper kicked in, the cigar kind of settled down, which is kind of the opposite of what I had been expecting. Yeah, but that also is when the profile really started to open up on it. Cocoa was the dominant note in the first third, not chocolate, but cocoa.
Right.
And that was there along with leather, tea leaf, and this nice natural sweetness that made this pretty strong cigar actually seem a little bit creamy. It was a very nice way to smoke something that was more full-bodied. Somewhere around the second third, I got a distinct note of cedar, and the cocoa kind of shifted to something that reminded me of the malted milk balls that I used to love when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, good God, we let our kids eat some crappy stuff, don't we? I mean, don't get me started on Laffy Taffy. There's not a redeeming quality to that, and kids just eat it all the time.
When Halloween comes around, my wife always ends up with the little individual, like, she loves the banana Laffy Taffy.
Really?
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
See, I always try to be at Halloween, and of course I live in a high rise now, so I don't get Halloween trick-or-treaters, but when I did back when I lived in the house, I was always trying to give out really good candy because I remember being a kid, and when you went to the houses that gave out the shitty candy,
Saltwater taffy.
Oh yeah, you're like you would just talk bad about those people for the rest of the year.
People that gave out apples.
Oh yeah, what I was
does that?
thinking. Yeah, my mom wouldn't even let us eat apples that we got at Halloween because she was afraid there'd be razor blades in it. You know?
Oh, I remember that.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Anyway,
And candy corn. Don't even get me started.
I did love malted milk balls as a kid, and so I got a little of that just malty flavor out of that, which I thought was kind of unusual for a cigar. You know, in a beer maybe, but in a cigar that was
Right.
That was an interesting flavor to pick up. Much as this was a full-bodied cigar, it was not all pepper. You know, I smoke a lot of the A.J. Fernandez cigars. They have a tendency to be really hefty with the pepper. This pepper note was definitely there, but it actually became less and less prominent as the cigar smoked. It was not the dominant, even though it was Nicaraguan tobacco, wasn't the dominant thing. I did start to pick up a bit of wood, kind of like a charred wood that you buy in those big bags at Home Depot to use on the grill instead of, you know, charcoal briquettes. I think they call it cowboy charcoal. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's wonderful stuff. I love the way that smells, and I got a bit of that in the cigar. The long flaky ash held on for about an inch and then dropped all over my keyboard. After I took a moment to clean it off, I went back to the torch, and after giving it a couple of good puffs to make sure that it stayed lit, the charred note seemed to be gaining in strength a little bit. That wood note finally settled down, but remained for the duration of the cigar. A floral sweetness blended in with it really nicely. Still some pepper, but not as much in the foreground as a lot of the Nicaraguan cigars I like to smoke. Final third brought in that toasted almond flavor that I'd gotten on the pre-light, and that worked nicely with the charred wood and the floral notes. Torch was definitely a full-bodied cigar. It wasn't medium to full. It was full. But it had very nice complexity. Full-bodied character was most notable, interestingly enough, on the retrohale. That was when you're like, oh yeah, this is a full-bodied cigar. But it was nice. Burn was terrific throughout the smoke. Construction was top-notch. Torch is a $10 cigar, and I felt like it was worth every penny. I liked getting so much power and punch in a cigar that had all that interesting stuff going on from a flavor standpoint. So I would recommend it. Thumbs up, solid 5. Might have even, I might should have given it a 5.5. It was good enough that I would definitely buy this again.
Nice.
And smoke it. So thumbs up for the Aganorsa Leaf, Lunatic Torch from JFR. And as Ian said, you will have to go to a smoke shop to buy these. You won't be able to find them online. Same thing with the guys that we visited in Honduras, our friends at the Aladino Tobacco Factory. Their stuff not available online either. You have to buy that in the store, and it is worth looking for. Okay.
Yeah, and I always get that 8x80 Lunatic, by the way, when I go float the river. That's a great cigar
that's
that.
yeah. I didn't see that one there actually, but anytime I see a cigar of that size, I think
it's so ridiculous. And after a 4-hour float, you still have some cigar left.
It's absolutely. Speaking of, by the way, this cigar smoked for like an hour and a half.
Oh wow!
It was and for a Toro, I usually expect an hour plus. But an hour and a half was quite a long smoke. So so that was great. All right, let's take a break. I'm ready to start sampling some LongDrink. Plus, we have beers on the way, as promised. Hardywood Park Craft Brewery's Fightin Hokies Lager. We'll sample that in the next segment. You are listening to and viewing Smokin' and Toastin'. It's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we will be right back.
Awesome. I'm gonna run right through super quick.
Hey everyone, Ian joining for the rest. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. The music of the Suffers, and I haven't gotten a chance to go see them since live music has started again, and I'm so ready to see them again.
Yeah, last time I saw them, we were at that theater in the Heights.
That's right, at the Heights Theater.
Heights Theater, yeah. That was a really good show. So
Those
good.
guys, so good live. Well, welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. We are brought to you, by the way, by mycigarshirts.com. Excellent shirts for cigar lovers on the web, especially those who have a little bit of an attitude, because the shirts have a little bit of an attitude. And
there's some snarkiness in there.
I think you will like it. Yeah. Check them out at mycigarshirts.com. Shirts start under $20, and they are great gifts too. If you have somebody you need to buy a gift for that's a cigar person and you don't want to just be predictable and give them cigars. You know,
Although cigars are a good gift.
they are a good gift. Yes, they are. You can give them a shirt and a cigar. That would work. I'd be very happy with that. Check them out online. They are our sponsor for the show, mycigarshirts.com. John Kraft from LongDrink Canned Cocktails is here with us. He's brought a number of things for us to taste. And John, you mentioned that the drinks originated in Finland, and that they're kind of like a national treasure there almost.
Kind
right?
of like that, yeah. The legend, the
Right.
legend of
The
Finland.
legend of Finland.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. Of all the
Best
things
kept secret.
you could think of that would be the legend of Finland, I love that it's LongDrink. So you mentioned that you started in the United States. You started in New York,
Yes.
and then kind of
Manhattan.
began to spread it around. How did the Manhattanites respond to this type of thing?
So it
Was it a struggle at all to get them to try this, or did they take to it right away?
So it is very much of a hustle story. So with the four founders and myself, I was the first employee. We pretty much were self-distributing, putting the orders ourselves, and we pretty much put the samples in our backpacks and went door to door to liquor stores, bars, and restaurants and signed people up ourselves and then put in the order. And then we got Miles Teller involved. He's on board with us as an owner as well. He's an actor, very big proponent of that. And then we started expanding to other states like Connecticut and then Georgia, and now we're in about 15 states.
And how did New York liquor store owners, who can be a bit prickly, let's be honest, how did those guys respond to you coming in and saying, "Hey, we have something new. Try it. You might want to sell." I mean, did that approach work?
It did actually, and it was actually before a lot of the RTD section exploded. There was a few competitors that the bigger guys, I would say.
So RTD would be ready to drink.
Ready
right?
to drink, yeah. And for us, we actually say we are category of beverage because it was created for bartending. So we actually, technically most RTDs are something you could make yourself.
Right.
Technically, you cannot make long drink yourself. Is what we say. Is what
that
we
makes
tell
sense.
people.
Right. You're not going to be able to brew it up at home.
Yeah. So, but it is within that category. But they were very much very supportive. A lot of them were, and they were there. It wasn't just like sales reps going out. They were like real owners there. Doing the tastings and being involved.
Did you guys establish a facility to make these in the United States, or are you importing them?
So we actually do make it in the U.S. We make it up in upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So it's a USA-made product.
I will tell you, upstate New York is a real gold mine for craft beer lovers. There are so many great craft breweries in that area, and there's some in New York City and Brooklyn and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But it's a real kind of a crafty sort of area. So it kind of makes sense that that's where you guys would locate to be able to do these. So the first one of these that we're going to try is what you would call your sort of standard one, right?
Yeah. Our flagship product, we call it the traditional.
Okay.
It's the most popular one for us by far. Actually, the second most popular, especially in Texas, is our strong version. I don't think Texans are really kind of go towards the
black can.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the
we
long
like
drink
to-
strong.
It's called bang for the buck.
We like to drink here, yeah.
Yes, actually, it is. Because it's more expensive, and they don't mind at all. They're gravitating towards it. They see the higher ABV. But we're gonna crack it open right now. I guess.
Yes, let's do it. We love to open these on mic, by the way, because here at Smoking and Toasting, we do all of our own stunts and sound effects.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Ooh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
First time on, and he just nails the sound effect. That's
It's
wonderful.
like he knows how to open a can.
So this is your sort of flagship product.
Absolutely.
But what's in this beverage?
So if you're looking at or taking down a taste profile, at its base is
Gin.
Sorry.
I'm here for you, man.
Gin, juniper, and grapefruit. And it's
Okay.
it's so natural you could buy this at a Whole Foods in California.
Really?
Yes. So there's nothing artificial in that.
Now I'm going to pass this one over to our
gluten-free.
producer, Adam, and you can pour me one more. So it's gluten-free, okay. And
It is a true gin. It is a little bit, but it's not. People when they think of gin, they think of the floral botanicals. They think of the blue bottle you grab out of your parents, liquor cabinet at 16, and gin's not supposed to be drank hot. Like you might drink a vodka hot. That sounds awful, but and it's a negative experience for people, right? But for us, we're pretty much making gin popular again. But we really sell it to people. We say as a joke, it's a boozy fresca.
Boozy
Fresca.
I've always loved Fresca, except for that aftertaste. But I love the sort of taste of the beverage. So this is
So this has a there's a little grapefruitiness to
is.
it.
Very definitely.
Real citrus.
But it has that same kind of. Have you ever had a really nice sweet grapefruit? It has that
Yes.
same kind of
Yes.
finish to it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't leave you with that artificial sugary.
Right. When you have a really
Funk.
when you have a really sweet grapefruit, there almost isn't like that sour grapefruit aftertaste. The sweetness almost overpowers it and makes it almost more like you're eating some other citrus fruit.
Now,
But
have you had this before?
I have not. Have you?
I have. My wife loves this stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, as a matter of fact, one of the ways we got in touch with you is my wife spoke with one of your representatives and gave her a card, and then I gave that to Mary, and then she got in touch with you guys.
Very cool.
So that was an interesting tie-in, but yeah, I've had this before, and she drinks this on a pretty regular basis.
Love to hear that. Yeah,
So-
we're an independent company, so we love to hear when people
What
buy
is what is the alcohol content of this particular
it. So
one? Your
this
flagship?
one's 5.5%. It's very
So
approachable.
It's kind of like a
It's a hangout drink.
basic lager, or maybe a slightly lower. I can't speak today. Kind of a slightly lower ABV IPA,
Yeah.
and yet you could throw this back like it was a
Volume.
It's like
a non-hard
It's like if
seltzer,
you made
you know?
a grapefruit soda, and put a little floral to it, and then made it a little less sweet than what you'd expect in a soda.
This to me is so much more refreshing than most hard seltzers, because you get that same sort of bubbliness and refreshment on the palate, but then you don't get that sort of cloying artificial sweetener aftertaste. It just goes down really smooth and says, "Pour me some more, please." You know, it's kind of the vibe that you get from it. And my guess is this is best as cold as you can
As
get
cold
it,
as
right?
possible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
cold.
And in Finland, they actually put it on draft. We're not really at that point yet in the U.S. where that's allowed. But hopefully in the future, we would love to put it on
I
draft.
think
But
there's a
at that percentage, that's still in the same realm as most beers
Yeah,
that they'll have on draft.
It is more of a law, more of a law.
you
pot-
could,
politi-
but you
political
could
thing.
totally throw these back. I'm telling you, it's not giving you a booziness at all.
Texas has weird laws. You could probably put it in some sort of machine,
Right.
and then you can
And
serve
dispense it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that draft cocktails may be one of the next big things.
So-
I believe so because it's huge in Europe.
My brew
Yeah.
club has Novemberfest coming up pretty soon. Everyone does Oktoberfest, so we just push it back
I
so we
love
get more
that,
people.
by the way.
But we do Novemberfest every year, and one of the things we make sure we do is we do draft cocktails at our Novemberfest.
Do
We
you
do a
put
lot of
those
draft
in,
beers. But
in a corny keg?
yeah, they're in a corny
Okay,
kegs. They're
very
mostly carbed.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is.
No, that's the way to do it.
But
That's
yeah,
the way to do
and it comes out great. Like it's right off the tap, and it turns out
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, this is so easy to drink, and it seems to be. You know, when I think of all of the attempts that have been made throughout, the last 30 years, to come up with something in a can or a bottle that is not a beer and not like wine. But that would be something you could. I mean, I could totally see this being a huge hit at bars, like women,
Yeah,
like
just
your
get it
wife,
out,
for
yeah.
example, love this type of thing because they want to drink, they want to have a
Yeah.
good time. But in a lot of cases, they're not looking to fill up on beer, and they're not
And
looking
beer
for
can
that.
be very filling,
and
yeah.
they're not looking for that big punch
I have
of a cocktail.
I have one problem with the long drink, as I've
Mm-hmm.
had a few at the house before, and the big issue is if you take this long drink and you pour it directly into a glass, like ice cold, directly into a glass,
Mm-hmm.
no ice, you will drink it so fast. I mean, it goes down.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
like-
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
You know when you're dying for a Sprite.
Mm-hmm.
And you just end up glugging the whole thing. It's like that. It just happens so
Right.
fast.
So I can just see if you're out at like a dance club
Mm-hmm.
and you've been on the dance floor and you've worked up a thirst, I can see you going to the bar and just like nailing one
Yeah.
of these, like all in
And
one.
that is actually a huge market for us, actually.
At dance clubs?
In the bars and the dance clubs, in Wicklow, for example, and country clubs, actually. So we're in a couple hundred of them in Texas.
There's really just two ways to drink. There's sipping, and there's drinking to quench your thirst, and this is definitely the latter.
Yeah.
Because this is very satisfying.
It's also super hot in Texas.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
We've
all
noticed
I do is sweat all the time, and I've lived from New
noticed.
York to Atlanta. It's just like constantly sweating, constantly sweating.
I
Hey, how long
get
have you been in Texas?
I moved about pre-COVID. We were actually a
so
couple states deep.
You've witnessed the full Texas
Yes,
summer then.
yes, yeah. It's
Nothing quite like
brutal.
it.
It's brutal.
Nothing quite like
I learned you really have to like sit down and actually stop sweating before you go into the shower. Otherwise, you just keep sweating.
You'll sweat right
and I
through your
didn't really
shower.
realize that ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Ian, I'm not sure. I think we gave away all of our
Oh, I have one over
bottle
here.
openers
Hold on.
last week, and I'm not sure if I have another one. Let me look.
I got one here.
I do. Yeah, no. We can use this one, and then John, you can take this with you
go
as
ahead
a
and give that
Oh,
to him.
thank you.
there you go. That's a little souvenir of the program. there.
Awesome.
Oh, and smoking and toasting big bottle opener. So this is delicious, and now we're going to shift up to beer, and this is the Fightin Hokies lager from Richmond, Virginia's
Fightin' Hokies.
Hardywood
I'm
Park
assuming that's
Craft
the
Brewery.
mascot.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm not up on my Virginia College.
That's a
Is that
mascot.
turkey? What is that?
It's a mean looking rooster.
I think it's a
believe.
Hokie.
Okay.
What is a Hokie?
Is
a Hokie
that a
thing?
It's
breed
a
of
Hokie.
rooster?
I don't know. Anybody here that is
But
a
it's got the little
yeah?
hangy thing from the
goblet.
beak.
Anybody here that is an alumni of the Fightin' Hokies? Check in on the show notes, and we'll square you away here. So. Okay, so it wasn't a big,
Not a big pop on
big
that
pop on that one, but I actually love these little bottles. They remind me of,
Look like old school medicine bottles.
yeah, and they remind me of
Like
back.
this is what your tussin came in.
Reminds me actually of being back in college drinking Little King cream ales. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are terrible. By the way.
Yes, they are. Although I didn't know that in college, and it didn't
Terrible,
stop me
terrible.
from drinking a lot of.
I was gonna say Red Stripe myself.
Well, they do look. Okay,
Oh, Red Stripe
a much,
does come in
a
those,
much
yeah.
better example.
Yeah,
Yeah, Red
yeah.
Stripe comes
Wanna
in
keep
these squatty
passing
bottles.
those down, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll pass that one on to Adam. And yeah, Red Stripe, much better example. I'll tell you, my biggest complaint about Red Stripe is that usually when I drink it, they haven't gotten it cold enough. Because I drink it a lot, like when I've been like on vacation, like at the islands, so it's hard to keep the beer as cold as I want it to be. And Red Stripe to me is best just
It's gotta be absolutely cold.
ice cold. Yeah. So this is a lager as well. So it's Fightin' Hokies.
It smells nice.
It smells like a lager.
It's got it's got like your expected. This is what I want beer to smell like. Smell.
Right. You're getting a little bit of the sort of the wheat and the
Little malt.
little bit of the malt on the nose.
It's a thick
and
beer. It's a thick lager,
Surprisingly thick
fantastic.
for a lager.
right? Not just
Yeah.
me then. Okay.
Yeah.
Straight up
Yeah.
the road lager.
Yeah. And he's right. It is a much thicker mouthfeel. Usually lagers are more that very light, thinner mouthfeel. But the taste on this is
Do you know how
terrific.
much Budweiser ass this kicks?
Budweiser ass has been kicked so thoroughly at this point.
Which is
I'm not
why
sure if
we're
there's
probably saying it feels thick compared to a Budweiser. Yeah.
This
Right.
is the style.
right. If you
This
were
is what it wishes it was.
You know, I've talked before about that movie that I watched, the documentary about the different Budweiser brewers who are all in a competition internally in the company to brew the most Budweisery Budweiser that they can brew, the one that conforms to the recipe the closest. If one of them like screwed up and made this, they should be made a hero.
Yeah,
know
but
what I
they
mean?
would have lost that. They would have
They
lost,
would've lost the
that
competition.
That's
But-
the funny part.
Yeah.
This is an official beer of the Hokies. This clean, crisp lager is brewed in collaboration with Virginia Tech by Hardywood Park Craft Brewery. We've never had anything from them on the show.
I don't think so. No.
An award-winning, renewably powered brewery. We'd love to have you visit us in Richmond. I tell you what, this is a badass lager.
Yeah,
man,
it
good
is-
job,
we've-
guys.
We've had some really great lagers on
Yeah.
the show, and this stands right up there with any of them, I think.
Yeah, we've had some questionable ones, but we've had some really. This is outstanding. This is like, and here's the thing. I don't know that there's one thing about it that's that outstanding. It's just the whole package.
I love the finish. The finish is kind of what gets me.
Well, that's why John is here today.
Oh man, that was so.
I love a good pun.
You reached so far for that, and yet you still got it.
You have been punished.
Oh man, I'm digging it.
There's more.
In fact, my only complaint
I poured
is
gentle.
how little is left in my cup. Nope, that's
Did
really
that come
good.
in a cardboard box, or did that come in like a 6-pack ringlet? When you
I think
bought
I think it's available in 6-packs.
that? Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Man.
in a cardboard,
In a cardboard.
6-pack. Yeah.
That is really good. This is good. Like we had True Anomaly on, and they had their Scout. It's that kind of good. Like it's,
Right now, Scout is their Mexican lager.
that's their Mexican lager,
And
which
it
is an
was-
oddly good thing because I don't generally like Mexican
I was
lagers.
going to say
but that is so good.
That really, and you went out and got some of that, didn't you? Mm-hmm. So as we like to say here, John, smoking and toasting directly impacting sales because often Ian and I will stop off at the store
Grab some
on
for
our
yourself.
way home.
There you go.
And pick up something that
Direct
that we
conversion.
sampled. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So.
Fightin' Hokies by Hardywood. I'm for it.
Yeah, it does. There is an actual sales influence. I remember back during the pandemic, we would occasionally do those Saturday afternoon smokes on Zoom.
Yeah.
And we'd invite any of
The
our
virtual
listeners who wanted
smoke.
to join us for the virtual smoke. And I remember, I think it was one of your buddies, or maybe even your brother. I
was like,
can't
one of my
remember now.
buddies, Blake, actually.
Yeah, and he came on with the same gin that we had featured
just
on the
recently.
show, and I was like, "Oh, that's the gin we just had on the show." He goes, "I know, it sounded really good. I went out and bought some," and I'm like, "See, it works. It works."
There's one.
Yeah, there's one. But this is excellent, and if it is available where you are, you should definitely look for it. I don't know what their distribution is like around the country, but if you can find
Man,
it,
that is really
that's
really
some
good.
kicking lager. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to go over some new cigars for you to watch for, and we'll try something, whatever is next in the line for LongDrink. Smoking and toasting, and by the way, still drinking news still on the way, and we'll be talking to you about the 21 best bourbons according to Men's Health magazine. It's all coming up, and it's Smoking and Toasting.
Awesome.
Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. We are the radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And
We're like a party wherever you're
speaking
listening
of
to us.
cigars, yeah, right. Well, Ian has often pointed out that this show is great to put on in the background if you're having a little romantic time.
Oh yeah, put it on the back.
Put it on the back.
Little makeout time. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a little perfect. So, speaking of makeout
Creates the
time,
mood.
in the new cigars to watch for segment, Ian's man crush Matt Booth of Room 101 Cigars has resurrected his Namakubi brand in a single size, which they previewed at the PCA trade show in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and retailers can expect it to show up in the fall. They made it as a 5.5 inch by 50 ring Perfecto called the Ranfla. It is a limited edition cigar rolled with the same blend as the Namakubi Ecuador, which came out back in 2013. It's an Ecuador Habano wrapper, Honduran binder, and a combination of Dominican and Honduran filler. We like Matt Booth and his cigars. And by the way, the packaging in purple is a dedication to Alzheimer's awareness, a cause that has great personal significance to Matt Booth. And a portion of the proceeds from these cigars will benefit Keep Memory Alive, which is an organization that funds research and programs to provide assistance for those affected by brain disorders and their families, which is a very, very, very cool thing. Rocky Patel is introducing two contrasting lines, the light and mild white label and a dark and stronger cigar called Disciple.
Oh.
That's interesting for Rocky because he has a tendency to name things like with numbers, number 8 or their 50th anniversary or whatever. The white label is made with a Connecticut shade wrapper, Honduran binder, and a blend of Nicaraguan and Honduran filler, but it is designed to be a lighter cigar, so it's a more easygoing blend of those tobaccos. Its build is mild to medium bodied, though there's one tobacco in the filler that Rocky is not telling us what it is. So that's kind of interesting.
The magic tobacco.
Yeah, the magic tobacco. It's made in Nicaragua at his factory and comes in 4 sizes: Robusto, Toro, Churchill, and a 6x60 that they have just named the 60. Cigars are going to retail for $19 to $21 each, and that is a very expensive
That's
Rocky.
pretty expensive for Rocky. Yeah.
Most of his cigars are not that pricey, and for a lighter bodied cigar too. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm going to have to try one of these because I'm really curious as to why it would be that expensive as a lighter bodied cigar and where that all's coming from. Clearly he's going after the Dunhill market.
Yeah.
You know? For stronger cigars at about half the price, he's debuting the Rocky Patel Disciple, which gets its power from a dark Mexican San Andres wrapper and a hearty blend of Nicaraguan tobaccos. And this sounds like it's got my name on it.
Good.
Also, it's made at his factory in Nicaragua, and it will come in the Toro, the 60, and an unusual shape called the Bala. The unique cigar measures 5 3/4 by 58, and it's rolled with a closed foot that's been pre-punched. The Disciples will be priced between $10.50 and $13,
right.
so a little more reasonable. Both brands in 20-count boxes. White Label will ship the end of October, but the Disciple is expected to arrive next month. So if you're a fan of Rocky stuff,
for that.
Yeah, be on the lookout for that. All right, we're stepping into the next one from LongDrink. What are we trying here, John?
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, we have another flavor. It's called cranberry. Very popular, sweet and tart.
I've heard of cranberry.
Yeah,
that's a good flavor.
People are even doing the chamois tahini rims on them.
Oh, wow.
Very, very popular.
You notice how I said, "Oh wow," like I knew what that meant.
I was assuming you knew.
The chamois tahini rim. It's a huge in the Rio Grande Valley. It's a like a syrup and then a spicy chili salt.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. People are putting their own Texas twists on it.
I like it. Well, let's try the cranberry. That sounds great.
It's my favorite.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I always like cranberry, but my issue with cranberry is that it's typically artificially sweetened. Yeah. And that's not the case for this one.
Well, I love a good cranberry and vodka, and or I really like it with the splash. If you just cranberry vodka, that's what is that called, Ian? Because I always order the Seabreeze, which has the
Cranberry vodka
extra
is
grapefruit juice in it.
I'm totally blanking
why am I not being able to think of that?
It's one that
somebody will, Wiki Brian or
you know what I always loved? I always loved the cranberry Sprite that they came out with.
Oh yeah, that's
seasonal,
and that's actually kind of what this looks like.
A little bit, yeah.
In the cup here, but so this is.
Now,
this
I
the
just
same?
want to point out, if I put this in a glass with some ice, I'm going to look like I'm getting girl drink drunk.
Very, very crushable. Very crushable.
Yeah. Is this the same ABV as
it
the
is?
main one?
5.5%. Also in all the liquor stores across Texas with the same other flavors.
That's really pretty good.
It really is quite good, actually. It's just the addition of the cranberry just gives it that extra little, thing to happen to your taste buds. And
it's
it really
a little
works.
sweet, little tart. Very, very approachable on that.
The tartness makes the sweet not seem too, like you're drinking too sugary of a soda. You know what I mean?
I think that's why it appeals to Texans so much. And I actually see a lot of it doing really well. It does really well in San Antonio. And does really well in San Antonio.
I can tell you, having lived in San Antonio, they are big fans there of a soda called Big Red.
Oh, yes.
And while this isn't quite as
syrupy, sweet.
Syrupy
but
as
delicious,
the Big Red.
Though. I love Big Red tacos.
But it does get a little of that vibe
that
to
sweetness to it.
Did you say Big Red tacos or Big Red and tacos?
Big Red and tacos.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really good, and again, very crushable. Like you could very easily take that can down.
Absolutely. I'm sure that somebody has made Big Red tacos though.
Yeah.
I think there's a food truck here in Houston actually called Big Red Tacos.
If I'm going to take this down to a very basic level, I don't eat at Taco Bell very often, but they have those Doritos Locos fiery taco shells.
Are you kidding me? They're awesome.
Like,
they're great.
What the heck?
Yeah,
so good.
There is something about there's two products that I put into this category. The entire menu at Taco Bell. And at Jack in the Box, they're 2 tacos for $1.99. Those are products that the later it gets and the more you've had to drink, the better they are.
100%
In fact,
agree.
after you leave the bar at closing time, really nothing's better than those Jack in the Box tacos.
Yeah.
Nothing works the same.
I've been a victim, and they're so cheap that you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'll take 6
9.
of them, 9 of them.
John, what is a 6-pack of cans of this retail for?
So it typically in Texas, we're in about 1,300 liquor stores. So obviously all the big chains, but all the independents as well. It goes for about $14.99.
So that's a pretty reasonable price. I mean, you're talking about if you're going to get any kind of a quality craft beer, you're probably going to pay
Minimum $10.
somewhere between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
So it's right in that same kind of price range, depending what you're doing.
Unless you're grabbing Meridsu like me, and then you get 4 of them for like $15.
Yeah, right.
But they're that good.
I've seen a few that are even more than that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like,
Well,
my god.
where I live in Austin, Pine House Brewing is a 4-pack is $20.
Yeah.
Well, Austin is a great.
Deepa.
Austin is a great mecca for craft beer, but we're kind of champions of our local scene here, and I would hold it out to be just as good, if not better, than the Austin craft beer scene. It just isn't, maybe as hip to talk about as the Austin craft.
But
beer
you know
scene
what
is.
you don't see in Houston? I was up the road from a buddy of mine's house in Austin, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to pull in this little car wash place and get my truck washed. And I walk in, and they're apparently a block from, I'm trying to remember which brewery it was, one of the 512, I think, or one of those. They're like a block from 512,
Love
so you walk
512.
in, and they just have a keg sitting there, like, help yourself.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I would be
I
a
love
repeat
this car
customer
wash.
of that car wash. Oh, man, when I lived in Austin, they didn't have that at the car washes, or I'd have been like washing my car every day.
That's
Are you kidding me?
amazing.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Our next segment is one where we will start talking about these 21 bourbons that Men's Health has pointed out. We'll taste some more LongDrink, and we're going to try this IPA. I'm really excited for you to try this, Ian. It is from a brewery here in Houston called Equal Parts, and it is their Saharan Dust IPA. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for
Wookie Bryan said Cape
joining us.
Cod.
Cape Cod. Thank you. Why can't I remember that? Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are glad to have you here. Our program is brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for cigar lovers on the web, and a proud sponsor of this show, MyCigarShirts.com, because
Cigars.
Yes, sir. When it comes to America's favorite pastime, Men's Health magazine writes, there's no shortage of contenders. Baseball, jazz, taking movies that we vaguely enjoyed from the 80s and 90s and rebooting them every 3 years as all manner of miniseries, Broadway musicals, and endlessly expanding cinematic universes until everything's just a copy of a copy of a copy. That's the article. I didn't say that. That's American.
That's actually pretty accurate.
However, though, there is a strong argument to be made that there's nothing more American than bourbon. Americans have been making the beloved barrel-aged spirit primarily from corn since the 18th century. And in 1964, Congress officially recognized bourbon as a distinctive product of the United States.
Wow.
In what was probably one of the most fun sessions of Congress ever. But Men's Health magazine has named their 21 best bourbons of all time.
Lay it on me.
Now. So we'll start with number 1. And I don't know that these are in order, but they picked 21 of them. So the first one is Elijah Craig's Small Batch Bourbon Whiskey.
On my shelf.
Yeah, that's just really good stuff.
Yep.
It's just really good stuff. Woodford Reserve Bourbon is the next one on the list.
Also on my shelf.
They named that the best bourbon whiskey under $50. So that's a pretty
Actually,
nice.
I think I have the double oak Woodford on my shelf. So
Oh, that's even better.
yeah, it's good.
Wild Turkey Long Branch. Yes, it is a collaboration with Matthew McConaughey, but they say you shouldn't check out this bottle for its celebrity affiliation alone. It's softer than the other Wild Turkey expressions and offers an elegant finish. They say try it maybe without ice. So have you had Long Branch?
We had it on the show, didn't we?
That's right, we did.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty
It was
good. High West American Prairie Straight Bourbon Whiskey. I think we've had that on the show, haven't we? And I remember enjoying that quite a bit. Michter's 10-year Kentucky Straight Bourbon. Don't be scared by its higher price tag, they say, although it's definitely on the more expensive end. They champion it as one meriting close attention due to its meticulous cultivation. Okay. How about Penelope Bourbon Rosé Cask Finish?
Never heard of it.
I haven't either. It's got a big P. It almost looks like a wine bottle. It's the shape of of like a red wine bottle, but it's got a big P on it, and it's definitely not wine. It is bourbon, but bourbon rosé cask finish. Many bourbon traditionalists subscribe to the notion of if it ain't broke, why fix it? And it's all well and good to find your favorite bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey. There are plenty of funky variations that are worth your time, and this is one of them, is what they say. They also credit Jim Beam Black Extra Aged bourbon whiskey.
Yep.
You're going to go along with that?
I'm okay with that. Jim Beam, so the regular Jim Beam I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
But almost everything, it's like Jack Daniels is the same way for me. Like their standard line, the old number 7,
Yeah.
don't like it.
Yeah, but some of their other expressions.
Everything else they put their name on, all those other, aged expressions, everything, always way better, way
It's kind of like
delicious.
it's kind of like Jose Cuervo. Not a big fan of the gold or the silver, but the Reserva de la Familia is
Yeah,
the single
amazing,
best tequila I've ever had.
Yeah.
Fantastic. They mentioned that the Jim Beam Black Extra Aged has oak and vanilla notes that are much more attractive than the regular line of their whiskeys. Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea Bourbon. They call this the best bourbon under $100. That's a pretty.
It's a good
strong
bourbon.
statement.
I don't know if I agree with that last statement, but it is a good bourbon. I've had it.
Well, this is the one that they leave sitting in barrels on ocean-going ships, so it's aged with the rocking of the ocean.
Wow.
It's a romantic notion,
That's
at
awesome.
least.
Yeah.
How about Wild Turkey 101?
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
the classic from Wild Turkey that will put some hair on your chest, they say. Hudson Bright Lights Big Bourbon from Hudson Whiskey, New York. I have not seen this one, much less tasted it. Are you familiar with it?
Hudson Bright Lights, I haven't seen that. Their 4-grain is amazing.
Yeah. This is Hudson Whiskey, New York. Bright Lights Big Bourbon is what they call it. So how about Stranahan's Colorado Whiskey?
I've had Stranahan's.
They say there's a misconception that all bourbon comes from Kentucky, but this actually comes from Colorado. It's mellow in taste, long on the finish, asserting that it stands up to the Kentucky offerings. Old Forester 1910 Old Fine Whiskey. Yeah.
I like the Old Forester.
How about Town Branch Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey?
Don't know that one.
This one was new to me, so put that on your list of things to look for. Wolf Moon Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
I feel like I've seen that, but I don't think I've tried that.
Yeah. Here's one I think you've probably had. Four Roses Single Barrel.
Oh,
How great is that?
that's fantastic.
So good. Here's one I'm pretty sure you've had as well. Bullet Bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's Eagle Rare 10-year.
Eagle Rare is fantastic.
It's really hard to find.
Yep.
Really hard to find.
And it's not very expensive.
How about
usually.
Buffalo Trace Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of those that you always
On my
have to have a
shelf,
bottle.
yes.
Yeah, when it empties, you just go get another one. Yeah, it's one of those.
Before it empties.
How about preferably Law's Whiskey House 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey? We've actually had this one on the show, and I remember enjoying it quite a bit. Yeah, Traverse City Whiskey Company straight bourbon. This
No
one
idea.
was new to me. I assume from Traverse City, Michigan. They call theirs the Whiskey of the North, and they say it says in this article in Men's Health that they understand how to make a delectable bourbon that won't break the bank.
The Whiskey of the North. They're not reaching real hard for those slogans, are
Yeah.
they?
Well, this one may stand out a little more. Chicken Cock Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Have you had?
No, I
this
love it for the name, though.
It says here in the article, allow Chicken Cock to reintroduce itself. Apparently, it was one of the great brands of the 19th century, but they have no shortage of fun trivia about their first life, being smuggled across the Canadian border in tin cans during Prohibition, achieving cultural cachet as the house whiskey at Harlem's legendary Cotton Club, and even getting a name drop by Duke Ellington in his memoir.
That's awesome.
nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. A distillery fire forced them out of business in the 1950s, and it has been resurrected as a testament to its former glory. They say if you like a lighter bourbon that's not going to smack you in the face, they suggest Chicken Cock. How many?
Chicken cock sounds a little more forward than a light bourbon that doesn't smack you in the face, but okay.
Yeah, it kind of does. But but at least you get to ask your friend, "Hey, have you tried chicken cock?" And there's a whole thing.
There's a whole conversation going on there.
Conversation. So there's your 21 from Men's Health.
All right.
It was a pretty good list, I thought.
Are you much of a bourbon drinker?
It's funny that you mentioned that because some of the brands you mentioned, like Wild Turkey, reminded me of my Uncle Steve. Big ex-Marine, big bourbon guy, and drank. He loves Wild Turkey. Yeah, and I recently, your taste changes as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
I like vanilla ice cream now for some reason, but I have started now liking bourbons and different things I did not like when I first started drinking and things like that.
You talk about ice cream. To me, and when I was a kid, I liked all these crazy flavors, but now. Give me a really good vanilla with some chocolate syrup.
100% agree.
And that's like the greatest ice cream ever.
Yeah.
Bluebell vanilla with chocolate ice cream drizzled in it. Chocolate syrup drizzled in it. Nothing better.
You guys actually had me think about a brand called Mellow Corn.
Oh, yeah.
And that's huge in the bartending industry.
Really?
Is Mellow Corn right now.
I wonder why. Well. It's interesting because you don't hear as much about it in just the regular spirit circles.
Yeah.
But what makes it such a big deal in the bar industry?
I don't know why. I think it's just, it's easy. It's kind of like Montucky Cold Snacks is a great, a very approachable, inexpensive beer.
That's one we just can't get our head around.
Well, I mean, I think that's why bartenders like it, probably because nobody else does. Yeah. And so it makes them feel cool.
It's got some kind of weird hitness to it. Our buddy Chris Hart, our whiskey expert, that it's not only has his own show but does occasional appearances here and talks whiskey with us. He loves it.
Not good beer.
Every time he comes on, he keeps trying to talk us into it.
It goes well with the Boilermaker, I mean, that's kind of. I think that's why you can just put.
Well, so you were mentioning how taste changes as you get older, and one of the things I found, like my basic story with Wild Turkey is, we had a family tradition where every New Year's Eve, because that's when a bunch of the family would be together. Not New Year's, but Christmas Eve, we'd all sit out in the garage, and we call Manland, and all the guys in the family would sit out there and do shots of Wild Turkey.
It'll get you, man.
Thanksgiving thing.
And
I hated Wild Turkey. That was the only time I ever drank it. And then one time, and this was just a few years back, one time someone gave me a shot of Wild Turkey, and I took it, and I took a sip of it. This is good.
Yeah, well.
And that's the biggest difference I found between, when I was young and I was drinking those whiskeys, I didn't like them as much. Why? Because every whiskey sucks when you shoot it.
Right. That's
everyone.
Exactly why. Yes.
They all do.
Yeah. You could shoot like a Woodford Reserve,
and it sucks.
And it wouldn't be that good.
Good. You know. And you can argue semantics on that all you want, but the truth is, it's just not the right way to drink it. When you start sipping it,
it is. Yeah.
Now, out of self-defense, there are some whiskeys that, well, if you don't shoot it, you might not get them down.
Right. This is true. I've had a few of those.
And that's a lot of the whiskeys I was drinking back then, too.
The Canadian Mist, as an example. Canadian Mist.
Canadian Mist.
Yeah, Twins was doing a special on $5 glass bottles as a sell-through, and I bought some $5 bottles for my friends, and they hated me for it, but
yeah. That reminds me of the time at a Christmas party many years ago when we were giving gag gifts, and I was given the bottle of it wasn't Boone's Farm, it was the other
Mad Dog
2020.
Oh man.
And then we had just enough actual good stuff to drink that it seemed like a good idea to open the bottle and pass it around.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The worst hangover I have ever had in my life.
When we were young, we were kids in our early 20s, we would go out and just buy 2 bottles of those, and that would be like each. Like that would be our like drinks for the evening.
Well, when you're young, it's all about quantity.
Yes.
And as you get older, it becomes a little more about quality.
Yeah. I've actually started going towards the Four Roses myself.
Four Roses. So
yeah.
good.
I think as I would see them at industry events, and we would sponsor nonprofit stuff together. And just a great approachable bourbon.
And their single cask is just so terrific.
Super
good. So terrific. Yep. So what's next for us with LongDrink?
Well, I think as we're talking about bourbon and we're talking about stronger drinks, I think we're going to go for the strong version, 8.5%.
All right.
So this one is also exists in Finland. Like our cranberry and original. It's I call it the 2 shots in the can. Our CEO actually likes to joke. He calls it the IPA killer. Because actually one of the reasons why he loved LongDrink is that he does not like beer at all.
Oh,
So
interesting.
when he went to Finland, he's loved LongDrink. He's like, we have to bring this to America.
Now, I noticed that this particular iteration has the slogan underneath it, Legend of 1952. What does that mean?
So it was created
There you go.
for the 1952 Olympics.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And so that's like our common thing. We used to saw so many people come out with crazy labels. We really wanted to just had to have like one single brand existence and our experience and just change the colors on them. But if you look across stores, it's really crazy how much labels change, right?
Oh, yeah,
And people
you're
get
right.
confused over them. And is this part of that brewery or distillery
I mean,
or not?
if you think about craft beer, what has become very much in vogue in craft beer companies is to do limited releases
Yeah.
and have the artwork change,
Every time.
because your release is changing,
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right.
Can I see that blue can?
Yeah, of course. Do a taste test next to each
That's
other. Yeah,
exactly what I
'Cause
wanna do.
We didn't adjust really the recipe a whole lot besides adding more gin.
So this has got
I'm tasting the juniper through it a little bit.
yeah. You can taste it a little more than in the blue can, the original. But not to the point that it has a big gin flavor to it.
I like
Yeah.
the flavor of the strong one better. It has more of that.
It has a little more
More that juniper sense.
yeah.
No, I do like gin, and it
Yeah.
has a little more floral to it overall that I kind of like.
You know,
Still pretty easily drinkable
And it's
for
interesting
8.5.
if you guys are bourbon guys. So I find that for some reason, and we used to do a lot of whiskey trade shows. People love it when we're there at the whiskey trade show because there's never enough water. So
Right.
they end up drinking us like the water.
as a palate cleanser.
Absolutely. We're sponsoring the one in San Antonio, actually. The San Antonio Current is putting on a whiskey trade show, and we're going to be there at that one. And it's really interesting with bourbon people that they love it or hate it. I don't know. It's because like an antithesis of flavors, of a sweeter brown liquid versus a clear sweet a clear sweet liquid. But it is interesting that's one of the clear differentiators with people.
I think it's terrific. I mean, I've loved everything we've tasted. Really like the cranberry, but this one feels the cranberry and the original almost didn't feel like I was drinking any alcohol.
Yeah.
And this one gives you I won't go so far as to call it boozy.
It's not real boozy,
But
no.
but you have a little more of
It
a
is
feeling
boozy,
that
though,
you're,
at
that you're
8.5.
drinking. Yeah, it's 8.5.
That
Yeah.
absolutely will catch up with
You
you.
get a little more of a feeling that you're drinking something with
Yeah.
a little bit of oomph to it, though, and I kind of like that.
At some college towns, they'll sell this for $5 on special, and that is wild to me. They're giving
Worst
kids.
night at the bar.
Yeah.
The bartenders hate that night.
Yeah. It's like Pat. I'm like, wow, that's like you're giving these people 2 shots in a can for $5. That's,
Wow,
that's something.
yeah. And what bar is that?
Yeah. Go to San Marcos. Go to San Marcos.
Oh, yeah. You can find a few places to party in San Marcos. Ian, I'm going to hand you a can of Equal Parts Brewing's Saharan Dust. There's not much information.
So
It's a
equal
beautiful
parts.
can, though.
I looked down and Wiki Brian actually brought this up to me. I said Equal Parts was recently a different brewing. It was Sigma Brewing.
Sigma, that's right.
Sigma Brewing. And
So
remember, we were getting them on the show, and then they
Right.
said, "Well, hold off. We need a little
And
time."
clearly, here is why.
And then we never heard from them again, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're equal parts.
Okay. Well, I remember we tried a pale ale of theirs that was really good. I want to
And we did a stout that was really good
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So interestingly enough, this is the same guys, and they've put together this IPA called Saharan
the
Dust.
same place. I don't know if it's the same guys. I don't know anything else about them.
Under new management, as they say.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. Hopefully, we'll have them on the show soon, and we can get the whole story. But this is a definite juicy IPA, and I don't want to give away too much here.
I'm very excited for this. I love IPAs, and that's a very beautiful can.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
is.
That's a beautiful can.
Some cans are more beautiful than others. Yeah, and
I'm also just a big fan of
take this larger pour and give Adam the smaller
song
one.
Sahara, though, too.
That's okay. I'm just randomly pouring.
I'm also a big fan of the song Africa by Toto, though, so I might be predisposed. Yeah.
By the way, not long ago, I saw a video of Toto, the band, performing Africa Today.
Okay.
And I came away thinking two things. Number one, if you're a studio musician, you'll always know how to play well because they still sound terrific.
Oh yeah, was that
even playing
Jeff
live.
Piccaro and Steve Lukather?
Steve Lukather, yeah.
And Jeff Berlin was their bass player for a long time.
The other thing that I came away thinking was, I haven't aged all that badly. Because
Right.
those guys look rough. Let me just tell you, they look rough. They sounded good, though. And they did like a 9.5-minute version of Africa that was kind of fun to watch.
That's a great song. They had Toto had so many good songs though, man.
Yeah.
Dude, if you listen to just the musicianship on Rosanna by Toto, it's like those guys are just first they nail a
Killing
guitar solo, then they nail a keyboard solo. Then, I mean, it's just great. So
Did you know that people love doing covers? So I love Weezer, and Weezer had a great cover album. Did you know that Pitbull has a cover of Africa? Pitbull. Do not listen to it.
I don't know what to even say about that.
Do not listen to it. Do not listen to it.
what does he do? Just dun 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 dun, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Worldwide.
He does,
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
All right, Ian. I'm so
bad.
curious about what you think about Saharan Dust from Equal Parts.
Saharan Dust is incredibly interesting because it's so crisp
It is crisp. Yeah.
and it has such a hard, bitter cutoff
end.
to the end of the taste.
It doesn't.
And
yeah,
it almost leaves you with no real aftertaste, but there's a like a slight charcoal kind of bitterness to the end of it,
It's not a
and
huge
then
hop
a
bitter.
little bit of a sweet malt aftertaste. It's really, really incredibly interesting, and that's really bizarre after how big and bitter that finish is on it.
So I drink a lot of different hazy and juicy IPAs. It's probably my favorite style of beer. Even though I like all kinds of different things, IPAs are so much. This is so much my wheelhouse that I try a lot of different ones. And this one really stunned me.
The
I
retro
thought it
ale
was
on this
different than any I'd ever tried.
gives you some of that grapefruit.
So many of them
and
are
lemon.
So many of them are incredibly similar to each other, and I thought this one stood out as being very different.
So the aftertaste kind of builds up a little bit, and not in a bad way. You start tasting it a little more. It's so crisp. It's almost harsh, the first flavor, but not in a bad way. It's just abrupt. Maybe that's a better word.
Abrupt
It's
is a
abrupt.
good word, yeah.
How crisp and final that swallow is.
Well, I've had several of these now, and I will tell you
I could see this going with a cigar too.
yes, sir. I think so. I haven't tried it with a cigar yet, but I'm going to. And I'll tell you, for me, this IPA has now moved into my holy trinity. Yeah,
So
which
you
is
got
Lone Pint, Yellow Rose, Ghost in the Machine, and now this. It's fantastic. I just
I mean,
love
I will
this.
tell you, I like all three that you just said. Like, these are all very, very good. I
Yeah.
would put up there. There's a couple other IPAs I would put up there, but this is good.
Yeah, I really, really like this. And what I've found is that it's one. I know you can say this about a lot of different things, but it's one that gets better as you drink it. You know, like the first sip is good, the next one is better.
The first sip was very dry. I'm not gonna lie. And now the second one I had is not left my mouth as dry from that because it is that abrupt.
But a bit of
abruptness.
that, the dryness that you're talking about, though, is almost like,
It's a more woody kind of dryness or charcoal kind of dryness.
and it's a little bit of the Doritos effect that makes you want another sip. You know.
Very, very true. Very true. The
There's a
Doritos
slight
effect.
lingering, like after you've had, because I actually have refilled my cup a little bit. After you've had a few sips, there's a slight resinous, almost pine coney kind of thing going on, but not in a bad way and not in a distracting, harsh way either. It's
Yeah,
just there.
it's not over the top, but it's there.
This is a
and
good
it's-
beer.
It's
If they keep
very
doing
grapefruity.
this,
I sure hope they do.
holy cow!
Yeah, because this is now my favorite Houston-based IPA. Because the others I like, Ghost in the Machine is from Louisiana, Broussard, Louisiana, and I guess technically Lone Pint, you could call it Houston, but it's Magnolia.
Yeah, it's
These guys
I
are.
played a gig at their brewery recently.
How was it, by the way? I
Man,
have
their
not had a
brewery
chance
is
to be
cool.
out there. Yeah.
So they have
I
this
love-
great little yard. They have this great little yard with a stage and everything set up, and then they have the the bar where you can go up and get your drinks.
They've released a couple of new limited edition things that I've snagged that are in my beer fridge that we'll be having on the show.
I had
soon.
their Gentleman Relish on Nitro.
How did you like that?
So good.
Yeah. Have you tried the one that's the?
Oh no, it wasn't Gentleman Relish. It was Tornado Shark.
Oh, Tornado
On
Shark. I've
Nitro.
had. Yeah,
Nitro,
that's.
yeah,
oh,
so
I
good.
haven't had it on Nitro. Though.
Yeah, they had it at the brewery, and that's I drank that most of the night. Yeah,
I was actually going to ask that question. Have you all ever thought about doing a can versus draft comparison of your favorite drinks?
You know, that is really a great idea, and we would have to be someplace
That
where
would
they
be
had
a
a lot
good
of stuff on
brewery.
draft. Man, we'll have
What
to
we
think
need
about-
is a brewery with outdoor seating so we can smoke cigars.
Yes. I worked for Anheuser-Busch in college as one of their college reps, and they took us to St. Louis, and they do the whole brewery tour with the master. And that was about 2 hours of him talking to us was why we were only allowed to buy the bottles for people. And not the draft or the cans.
Yeah.
That's how big people take the difference in taste.
Did you see the Clydesdales?
Yes, we did. We went to their stable. It was beautiful. The horses are amazing.
Always go to draft as my default.
I draft. I love draft.
If
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a choice between bottle or draft, I go draft.
Yeah. I had just met Ian when I got invited to his wedding, and the draft beer he had at his wedding was so exceptional that I said, I've never been to a wedding with beer this good.
Yeah.
I did have good beer.
It
at the wedding.
really was great. Yeah, really was great. Well, I absolutely dig this, and I can't recommend it highly enough. If you are a fan of IPA, you got to try it. And even if you're like Ian and IPA is not one of your favorite styles, I encourage you to try it as well. Because
Well, I'm
it's-
just going to point this out.
Yeah?
This is probably almost exactly the halfway point between my house and your house.
Oh. Wonder if they have outdoor area where we can smoke cigars.
They had when I went there the last time. They had on the it's like a warehouse where they have the dock.
Yeah.
But you walk up the dock and they had a couple chairs out in the front. Now they may have redone stuff or changed things around, but yeah, they had it like that, so you can sit out front.
We'll have to go check it out. And we're trying to get them on the show, obviously.
The last
that
time I
would
was
be a
there
lot
was
of fun.
Sigma, so
Well, they've got some great beers, so it'll be fun to check that out. Okay, let's take a break. We come back. I think you know what time it is.
ooh.
It's going to be time for some drinking news. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. This is the radio program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My friends, we are so glad to have you here for show number 243. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts on the web for cigar lovers. MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
And now, my friends, it is once again time for...
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When I asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. That is time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Welcome to Drinking News, the portion of our program that is features a news story from the week or from the past that is not always about drinking, but is usually best enjoyed if you've been drinking, and certainly we have. So, cheers. We often start our drinking news with a line about a Florida man. Or sometimes a Louisiana man.
When you say a Florida man, there's already a set of expectations.
Right,
that
you're
pop
absolutely
up
right.
immediately.
And you know, there's new Florida man stories every week, and they're always
There's a whole
like
website dedicated
oh
to
yeah.
that.
There's-
I lived in Jacksonville for 6 months.
Oh, so
between Stark, I saw.
yeah.
Florida man.
Well, Jacksonville is full of the stereotypical
Well, Cigar
Florida
City
man.
makes Florida man beer, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, which is
They make a
just
Florida
absolutely
man.
awesome. But I will be honest with you. A lot of times, the Florida man stories that I find are like, you know, I can't believe the dude did that, but it's not really funny. It's more just kind of sad, you know. And you know, we don't need any sad stories here on Smoking and Toasting. Even though you could provide a suitable soundtrack, I'm sure.
I can make drinking news a sad song.
Like a minor chord drinking news. But today we're not going to talk about a Florida man. We're not going to talk about a Louisiana man. We're not even going to talk about an Indiana man because they can be just as disturbing. But an Irish man is...
No, that's going to be good.
Okay. An Irish man has taken a stand against unorthodox cash-carrying habits as the scorching weather in Dublin continues this summer. I want to stop and say that...
I don't understand what's happening with that whole sentence.
Well, okay, I'll get to this.
We need to unpackage that.
What quantifies hot in Ireland?
Well,
You
well, let's put it this way. The temperatures they're having this summer are hotter than what they're used to in Ireland. So I remember when I lived in Boston, and I had lived in Texas for a number of years, and I moved to Boston, and if it was like 85 degrees, people freaked out and lost their mind. I'm like, you don't understand, 85 is a nice, cool summer day.
So there's a
Houston.
couple things. First off, if you're not acclimated to it, that does make a difference. Second off, nobody up there has AC. Everybody
Right.
Texas has AC.
Right,
It's
right.
not even a question mark. You know, there for a lot of years you could get AC as an add-on on your car as an option. That's never been in Texas.
That's not an option. No, you don't buy a car without air conditioning in Texas. That's for sure. Well, I will say something. I've never lived in Ireland, but I've lived all over the United States. And in every city I've been in, there has always been one, sometimes more than one, but always at least one, colorful character on television commercials who sells furniture. Here in Houston, we have our own Mattress Mac, whose annoying commercials are made a bit more bearable by how much the man gives back to the community.
He is an amazing
He's
person.
an amazing
You
guy.
have to love
Yeah.
the dude,
Also
and you
have-
forgive him for the commercials.
You also have the Hilton guy who is totally stealing Mattress Mac.
Trying.
Yeah.
Good luck, dude. Yeah, people love Mattress Mac. I'm not sure they're going to feel the same way about you. In Dublin, they've got their own mattress guy who somewhat predictably, by the way, I can't make this up, is Mattress Mick.
Oh my God!
Could you have written that? Like you couldn't have like thought of that and written it if it had been
That's
fiction.
so good.
Mattress
Mick.
I have not seen Mattress Mick's commercials, but you can tell from the picture of him that Adam's going to put up on the video feed right now that his commercials are likely to be somewhat unique as well, perhaps in a slightly different way from our own Mattress Mac.
I wonder if the mattress moguls have like their own little secret society or
All
something
I know
like
is
that.
these guys are all just absolutely.
He looks wild.
These guys
Mattress
are all.
Mick, he's got hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his hair is something.
He almost looks like Nick Nolte in the mugshot there, you know. But you know, these mattresses. I tell you what, the markup on mattresses must be incredible because these guys are all incredibly wealthy. Anyway, bedding salesman Michael Flynn, or Mattress Mick, is getting some attention right now, not for his commercials, but for a notice that he recently issued on Facebook and a sign that is posted in his store. It seems that the rise in temperatures, combined with the fact that many women's outfits that are currently in fashion do not include pockets, has caused some issues there in Dublin. The bedding mogul, who is apparently also a reality TV star in Ireland,
Man.
Of course.
has announced that effective immediately, his store will no longer accept cash that has been stored in customers' bras.
Jesus.
Yes, that is correct. Apparently, more than one woman has been attempting to pay for a mattress and a headboard with sweaty cash she was storing next to her boobies. Mattress Mick is advising shoppers to keep their cash in a purse or a handbag rather than in their underwear. One woman questioned about the policy said she really had no problem with it. Besides, who'd be wearing a bra in this weather anyway? Here at Drinking News, we suppose it's reasonable to assume that some retail workers don't want to accept this sweaty money, although I'm not really sure it's that big of a deal. I might actually enjoy taking cash that's been in a woman's brassiere, but you know, this is not the time or place for me to discuss my own quirks, so I will spare you all of that, at least for now.
No fetish shaming here.
It does, I guess, give a whole new meaning to the phrase money laundering.
No, that was a bad pun.
Here's to sweaty money, my friends.
Sweaty
and
money.
That is your drinking news.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right. This is one of those weeks I was
Oh,
lucky.
my
I found the
goodness.
drinking news story very quickly. I was like, oh, yeah, Sweaty Money. We're talking about this.
Did it say what reality TV show he was on?
No, it didn't. But I'm sure you could Google Mattress Mick
Okay.
Dublin
Okay.
and
Mattress
find
Mick.
out.
I wonder if it was like a Shark Tank or something at their
Oh,
equivalent
God, can you
island.
even imagine that dude on like a Shark Tank type
Yeah.
show? Or worse, he could be on like Big Brother Ireland.
Oh, my God.
You know? Yes, Ian.
Do you want to do this or do you want to do the long drink first?
Let's save the long drink for the last thing.
I think you should try drink that one first.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
let's talk Abraxas.
Abraxas.
This is from Perennial Artisan Ales. They are a damn fine brewery, and I didn't write down, Ian, where Perennial is from. Are they? Does it say on the bottle? It should say there somewhere. I think.
It says, according to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages, and so on. No, I'm just joking about that. It's Artisan Ale, St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis. That's right.
Is that a tiki on there? What exactly is that?
it's kind of like
Indian.
it kind of looks
It
like.
looks like Aztec.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
or
remember
Aztec,
what
yeah.
the
Oh,
Abraxas album cover
chili
looked like.
pepper. That's why.
2020 Abraxas. And Abraxas has a meaning. I can't remember what it is right off the top
Well,
of my head.
just so you know, when I Google Abraxas, thinking that the Santana album would come
That's
up
dark.
first, it doesn't. I get Abraxas, a psychic in Houston, Texas, the Abraxas Petroleum Company, San Antonio, Texas, Abraxas Malfoy, and Abraxas Guardian of the Universe, a movie from 1991, which I must say I did not see.
I didn't see that either.
So let me add Santana to this because I wanted to just
All right, so I just want to point out,
See if
what
there
does
were
the word
similarities.
Abraxas means? Abraxas means something. I can't.
yeah, it's a
If
very
only there was a device.
yeah. Let's see what I can come up with. Abraxas definition, according to Abraxas in British English, an ancient charm composed of Greek letters.
That's what.
Wow.
Originally believed to have magical powers and inscribed on amulets, etc., but from the 2nd century and personified by Gnostics as a deity, the source of divine emanations,
Interesting.
according to Collins English Dictionary. So I had
So
not
on the-
opened this.
on
I
the
was
bottle-
expecting more like a golden ale or something.
On the
This
bottle, it
is a
says
nice,
ale brewed with ancho, chili peppers, cacao nibs, cinnamon, and vanilla. So this is basically dessert.
yeah.
That
yeah.
is amazing.
And I was expecting a
And
golden ale, but
I
it's
haven't
not.
tried it yet, but just from the nose,
oh, you're in for a treat.
which has a little spice to the nose, like
Yeah.
almost a baking spice. And
Probably
vanilla.
those ancho chili peppers is what you're getting.
And then
rid of.
its consistency is slightly used motor oil.
It's pretty viscous, yes. All right, I'm going to try this.
You could make some delicious beer bread out of that.
See now, okay,
Ooh.
back up. Your vanilla ice cream.
Yes.
Just pour some of this.
Oh,
on
yeah.
it.
this would work instead of the chocolate syrup.
That's amazing.
Woo, baby.
This is fantastic.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
This is their 2020, by the way, which leads me to believe they may do an Abraxas every year.
That's
And if
delicious.
so, we need to mark that
It
on
has
the calendar.
such a huge mouthfeel too. Like it is so
Yeah.
big and round and ridiculous.
So this is, to be honest, I was expecting something a little lighter and more in the farmhouse sort of vibe.
Yeah, it
because
said
it didn't
ale.
specify that it was. It said ale, but it
Yeah.
didn't specify that it was like a dark ale or
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go ahead and pour myself quite a bit of this.
a porter or a
That's what
barley
I was
wine.
thinking. A porter, you know, yeah. Or a nitro, milk stout. Everyone, basically the basis of it. That's
and
delicious.
notice how not highly carb this is either.
Which I appreciate.
It has just enough bubbles to sizzle the very end of your tongue. and
Right,
that's-
almost at the
and
end
it's
of
gone.
the yeah.
And you know what was interesting about that? The bubbles only happened once it aerated a little bit with your final pour. Because for ours, not have any bubbles, so that seems like it aerated a little bit with you to
You
get
know what-
that little extra bubbles in there.
Ian, I get actually like a toasted pecan
Yeah.
in this.
And there's a little astringency on the aftertaste too, that like that pecan shell kind of
right,
astringency.
like you know what pecans taste like when they've been baked in a pecan pie, but not the sugary part of the pie, but just what the
Yeah.
pecans themselves taste like. It's got that kind of a vibe to it.
So if you go across the street from my house, you get to a Dot coffee shop and you can buy a pecan pie there that is outstanding. It's like $20. Or you can go just past it to the HEB and for $6 get one that's almost as awesome. Like it's like within like.
Or
But what about though the Specs pecan pies?
I haven't tried a Specs.
Oh
they great?
my God, man!
Are they good?
That was the first thing as when I moved to Texas was during that Christmas season. I was so blown away. I mailed one to my father.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Okay,
so
across the country.
we got to try the Specs pecan pie.
And
Then.
it was hard to finish. It's that delicious, but
Oh my
I mean
gosh.
it's that good with vanilla. Get some vanilla, but it is that good.
Nice.
It is that
Well,
good.
you know, when I think of pies, I think of like leaving the bar at closing time, deciding I don't want to do the Jack in the Box tacos again, and winding up at the House of Pies. The House of Pies.
Because you still have to make one more bad decision. For
That's
the
right.
End of the
That's
night.
right. I haven't made enough bad decisions yet at the bar.
I got
gotta
one more
make
in me.
one
Come on.
more. Yeah. Come on.
For us, it was a Waffle House.
Waffle House,
being from Georgia. The Waffle
Yeah.
House.
See, Georgia, Florida. You said you live in Jacksonville. The Waffle Houses multiply
pecan
there
pie.
like jackrabbits.
Everywhere.
They're
Everywhere.
just everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So when I was going to school, the Waffle House was our like late night hangout for.
I
everybody.
used to do
Yeah.
when I was on the radio doing the morning show in Boston. I used to have this game that we'd play to give away like concert tickets or stuff. You get a caller on the line, and the name of the game was the Bubba Game, and the idea was we would call a Waffle House somewhere in Florida or Alabama with the person on the line, and we would ask whoever answered if we could speak to Bubba. Was Bubba there? And inevitably, the waitress or whoever answered the phone, you'd hear them go, "Bubba, is there Bubba here?" And the contestant had to guess correctly to win the tickets whether there would or would not be someone who came to the phone when they said, "Is
I
Bubba
know a
there?"
few Bubbas,
Yeah.
actually.
And if you call it out at a Waffle House, it's 50-50. We got about half the time we did it, people won the tickets, and about half the time they got a consolation
So I
prize.
not only know a few people whose name is Bubba, but a few people who just randomly go by Bubba as well.
Well, yeah, we'll go by that. Yeah. Yeah.
Ian, that is a really spectacular and outstanding beer.
Let me help you out.
The
with that,
Abraxas
'cause your beer is
2020.
broken,
Yes.
and I can fix it.
Have you guys ever been to its inbred second cousin Huddle House?
No.
You're not missing out.
We're not missing
No,
out.
same branding, just lesser quality.
Hell House.
Huddle House.
Huddle House.
Huddle House.
Hell House.
I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been to Huddle House.
Nah,
and it's not good.
it's
I
not
have not
good.
been to Huddle
Yeah.
House.
No, and you'll see those
Not
like
good.
if you're driving up north Midwest, north of
Yeah.
here, you'll see Huddle
Yeah.
House and stuff like that.
Nah, not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
We used to go when I was in San Antonio. We used to we'd get off from working at the bars and stuff. We'd go to gyms.
Gyms is great.
I don't know if they
I've
have
seen
gyms here,
gyms.
but it's kind of like what Denny's would be if Denny's didn't suck.
They still have
that's
gyms.
That's what gyms is.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Is it the guy with the cowboy hat? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
They have gyms.
But they were like a pretty good, sort of like
What's the
short
other
order
one?
kitchen that was
What's the-
open.
Remember Howard
24 hours.
Johnson's?
Yes, yes. Not fondly, but I do remember Howard
And
Johnson.
they're gonna bring back Luby's too. Did I say
Oh,
that right?
I've heard that,
Yeah,
and
the
I'm
guy,
very
a guy
excited.
bought it, and he said it was not the quality of the food. It was just
Yeah.
needed something different or
Well,
management or ownership or something.
I have missed being able to get a Luann platter. I will say that.
I will. So Luby's is one of those places that I would go to once in a while because Luby's is not.
kind of like a golden corral for me. Once a year.
Yeah, it's not like a great restaurant. It's just, it's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah.
The Luby's I used to go
Now-
to back when I was like in college, it was like one of my favorite food servers of all time. It was the woman in the salad section where they have the salads and the Jello.
Right.
And this woman always shaved her eyebrows
God.
and then drew
And then
them back
drew
on
in
slightly
giant
higher.
ones way
So
higher.
they were perfect. But that was only what made her look interesting. What made her interesting to interact with is when you pulled your tray along the little thing and got to her section, she'd always say, "Smell you? Smell you?" I don't know what that meant, but I loved hearing it. It was always one of those things
So,
that if you were a little tipsy was
here in-
just really, really
Here
fun.
in
love that.
Houston, though, we have Clayburns.
We've told a lot of weird stories on today's show. Do you realize that?
Yes.
Must be the long drink.
Thank you.
And
Thank
if
you,
you're
yeah.
if you're a fan of like a good cafeteria, Clayburns is the cafeteria that goes and shops at the farmers market
Okay.
every morning.
Really?
And everything they make is unbelievably
Hmm.
good. So imagine the stuff you get at Luby's but it's all
Sounds like lunch.
made super top end, and it's right over off of West Park at Edlow, I think, or
Okay.
just
Yeah,
right around
yeah.
that area. And if you haven't been there, man,
I haven't.
We're gonna check
What's it
that
that
out.
called
place
again?
is amazing. It's called Claiborne's Cafeteria.
Claiborne's Cafeteria.
It is unbelievable.
It is on the list.
Yeah.
They're thumbs
We're
up
going,
in here.
we're
All right.
going.
Yeah.
All right, good. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one more long drink to try. What did
Yeah.
you save for last?
So I saved our sugar-free version.
Oh, cool.
It's keto and diabetic friendly.
Very nice.
So actually, as a pretty big segment of that, we actually sponsor the Nevada Diabetic Association.
wow.
We sponsor their golf tournaments and stuff.
Well,
Very
I was
approachable.
looking at this can. This can has an additional label.
It
on
does. So
of the nutrition.
an
the serving
interesting
facts.
thing about the alcohol industry that a lot of people don't talk about. It's completely voluntary to put nutritional information.
No one puts calories on beer
Oh,
unless
no.
it's
Yeah.
unless it's like 99 calories.
Right. If it's one of those, yeah.
And if you do one, you have to do all of it. That's why people don't realize it. So when they put the 9 calories, that's why they have all the other dietary stuff on there too.
I still remember, when I was first starting to get into St. Arnold beers, when I was a big fan, back in the day of the Alyssa IPA, and I remember it didn't say anything on the can about how many calories it was. So I thought, I'll go on the website and see if it's listed on the website. And I search on the website, and I finally found this listing that says calorie content in our beers. And then it said, so I mean, you may remember I kind of gave him a hard time about this when we had St. Arnold on the show
Yeah.
the last time. It said something like, we think you should just enjoy our beers and not worry about the calorie content. I was like, all right.
That's great,
That's
yeah.
good enough for them.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Well,
they just talked about, hey, it's an indulgence.
Just to what
It
he's
is.
saying.
It is, yeah.
A couple things about this. It says serving facts. Serving size 12 fluid ounces. Servings per container 1. Calories 99. So
Right.
if this tastes as good as their other stuff and it's 99 calories
And it's keto and diabetic
it
friendly?
is,
and it's
yeah.
keto and diabetic
Splenda
friendly,
based. Yep. Tastes the same.
and it's probably doesn't have any other dietary issue stuff.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't
So-
have bad sweetener or whatever
No.
that's going to cause cancer in laboratory mice.
And then it says here. Okay, so here's one of the funny things you'll see on cans. Right, first off, no one ever puts 100 except for Coca-Cola. Everyone puts 99, and I don't know why that is. Maybe they adjusted it.
All subliminal.
It's
Yeah,
always
it's
you
all
have
market-
to
it's
put
all
under
market.
100, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
Coca-Cola
It's all
puts 100. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the difference about Coca-Cola is if you look at the side of a Coca-Cola can, it will say calories 100. But servings per container will say 2.5.
So there you go.
Not joking. Look at
Yeah.
your Coca-Cola
Yeah,
can.
no, that's
Yeah.
absolutely
That's
right.
2.5 servings per
No,
12 ounce.
that's totally where they
This,
get you is the servings per container.
right off the bat is servings per container 1. That's a 12 fluid ounce. This is 99 calories for the entire can. And I think that that you got to pay attention to the labels if you're looking calorie counting. You got to pay attention because you go get one of those little frozen like cheesecakes for Weight Watchers or one of those brands, and you're like, man, this thing's only like 200 calories, and you eat the whole thing, and it's like 7 servings.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. Yeah, I was going to say, I was eating Cheetos the other day, and I said to my wife, I said, "This is not bad. This is only like 95 calories." And she goes,
For 3.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
3 of them. Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
seen
for
the
3
serving
Cheetos.
size? That's for
Yeah.
this actual serving size about 4. So
Yeah, right.
I think
4 pieces.
the best thing to do is just cut out completely that food group and instead of calorie counting. Is just say
Yeah.
you're not going to do the
I'm not gonna do-
wheat or
I'm
the
not gonna do
bread,
Cheetos.
something like that. Cheetos. No,
'Cause Cheetos-
I love Cheetos.
Cheetos
I actually
is a
love
food
Cheetos.
group.
See, and I'm not a fan of Cheetos.
Spicy hot Cheetos. Oh
But
my
man,
God.
Ruffles makes this potato chip called jalapeno ranch.
okay, yes. Let me.
And I will wreck a bag of those. I can't
So,
buy them.
let
I
me-
will just wreck that whole bag.
Let me just stop you right there. And we've gone on so many detours on the show that I don't mind going on one more. The greatest barbecue potato chips in the world are HEB store brand ridged barbecue potato chips.
Really? I haven't tried
Dude,
them.
they blow away Ruffles. They blow away all the and so many of the major potato chip companies don't make like ridged. They make wavy,
Yeah.
and there's not as much. You don't get the same
Looking at you,
concentration of
Lays.
flavor. Yeah, HEB. They rock. They rock. And the
I
sour
don't do
cream
a
and
lot
onions
of
not bad either.
barbecue chips because a lot of times they're a little too sweet for me.
Okay, you got to try these.
Are they good?
You
I like
gotta
when they're a
try
little
these.
spicy.
Yeah,
there was a
you
brand you
gotta
could
try
get up north called Snyder's.
I've had Snyder's.
Right,
Snyder's
and
is
those
good.
barbecue chips were good.
Yes, sir. All right, let's have some long drink before we talk our way into the end of the show.
What have we
don't
done?
Don't get to sample anything. So this is the long drink that is 99 calories.
Yep.
For one serving, one can.
Zero sugar, zero carb,
sugar.
and this might surprise you, zero protein.
Oh, very interesting.
So, if you're drinking this for an after workout
Right.
protein
It's-
blast,
it's not gonna-
helping
it's
you.
not
You're
gonna
going to have
do
to
that,
add some powder to it.
All right, pass this one on.
It is very popular with the workout people, though.
Right,
I can
because,
see at
because
99,
of the fact that it's
at
not
99
got the
calories, and it's nice that you can easily count the calories. that way,
Steel
too.
roll gin and all that fun stuff.
Ooh.
This has a little more gin smell, like straight up a little more gin floral smell, almost
does.
like the stronger one does.
But it's very light. Again, very light, very easy to drink, and the fact that if you're trying to do the keto thing or if you're diabetic, the fact that this is essentially approved for you is a big deal. And so many I've done the keto diet. I've done the paleo diet. So much of the food just isn't very tasty.
This is actually sweeter
It actually is, isn't
than
it?
the regular one, but it doesn't have that cloying, artificial, gross aftertaste.
To me, this blows away hard
one of the
seltzer.
things that I learned when we did our hard seltzer blind taste test is that I really, really like beer.
Correct.
And
I'm with you.
a large part of the reason I don't like a lot of the hard seltzers is that thing. And I know this isn't a hard seltzer, but at the same time, you got a 0-calorie one, so it's got to be sweetened artificially somehow. But it doesn't have that
That
yuck
yeah, I know.
aftertaste.
John, I'm
So,
just
good
going to
job.
tell you, I think that you guys, I don't know about your, your stronger one necessarily being an IPA killer, but I think you guys could destroy the hard seltzer industry.
Yeah, that's kind of our
because
goal.
this appeals to what people I think are going to hard seltzer for, but it's so much better.
It's better.
It's so much better. And I think people are always going to like beer. But when you're in the mood for something like this, man, this is top shelf. It really is.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
Agreed.
I'm impressed.
Agreed. And my favorite out of them is a strong one, actually.
Yeah, I kind of dig that one too. Although this one I have to say is really, really good.
This is pretty good.
Having the advantage of being
My wife likes the blue can. She hasn't tried the cranberry yet.
the cranberry's great.
I'll leave you an extra sample. You can take it to her.
That'd be great.
Absolutely,
Yeah, she'll
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
Y'all can try it out together.
All right, we're going to take a break and be back to wrap up the show. This has been fascinating. I'm really, really impressed with LongDrink. This is I'm looking at your box of the one that's 8.5%. I love that it says strong.
Yep.
Just as strong.
Let
I
people
like
know.
that. Yeah, that totally works.
Strong like bull.
All right, we'll be back to wrap up the program. You are checking out Smoking and Toasting, and we're so glad you've been here with us all the way through all of our mini detours today.
We have been rambling a bit today.
I still have interesting people in the room.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, the program where we say that's what we do. We smoke cigars and we know things. I'm reading from Ian's shirt. So,
I got this shirt from a friend of mine.
our program is all about fine cigars, hand-rolled cigars, fine spirits, and craft beers. And today it's about canned cocktails as well. We have really enjoyed having John from LongDrink on the program. John, where are you based out of now?
I live in Austin right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I think you said that. Yeah, based out of Austin. That's a good place to be. But are you still covering the whole country, or are you covering
I
portions
start
of
to travel a little bit more with COVID being over. I'm going to New Jersey in a week or two. So excited to get out there
Do you do any mountain biking?
with some friends. Yeah.
Austin's a great
It-
place
It
for
is a great spot, but it's
I go out there to mountain bike a lot.
it is a great spot down here on the Bayou trails with some friends I've gone as well. There are some cool spots on
Some
the
fun
west
places,
side of town.
yeah.
And it's a lot of trail riding, and so
You're talking
there's like a whole trail.
about the what are they called? The Anthills.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives right down the street from there.
I love that
And
trail.
we'll do that. And he's got his longboard with the trucks on it. You can kind of surf on too.
He's riding that.
Yeah, so he's doing so we'll either mountain bike or I'll mountain bike and
that's crazy.
he'll do his
Love that.
trail. Yeah.
Ian, I wanted to mention there was a show about, I don't know, a month or two ago where you and I both, unbeknownst to each other, smoked and talked about the Southern Draw Cedrus cigar. You remember that? Both of us did that cigar.
Was it the Cedrus or was it the Rose of Sharon?
Oh, maybe it was the Rose of Sharon. But we
was
both
one of them,
we
right,
both
yeah.
talked about the Cedrus. Maybe that wasn't on
Because
the
the
same
Cedrus
one.
I had a couple years ago. I
Okay.
love that cigar.
All
So
right.
I think it was Rose of Sharon.
Well, we both reviewed that cigar on the show, and I wanted to mention that it just received a 91 rating in Cigar Aficionado.
Oh, nice.
They smoked the Lancero size, but I wanted to read you a little bit from the review. It says, this thin Lancero-style cigar is rolled with a dark wrapper and uncut foot, yet it draws quite well. Its spicy notes of ground red pepper are bridged by snaps of leather and coffee that lead to a sweeter toffee character and a caramel finish. At 7.5 inches by a slim 40 ring gauge, the Southern Draw Cedrus Lancero is made from quite the mix of tobaccos with Indonesian wrapper over a
I've never
Nicaraguan
tried the
binder
Lancero.
and a combination of Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. And it's $10. So
I totally want to try the Lancero
Yeah,
because the Cedrus that I've had was a torpedo.
yeah, I had like a box press torpedo.
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
I had.
And-
Yeah,
and it's so
And
good.
It was so
So
good.
good,
Yeah, it really was. So, man, I got to tell you, from the long drink to the Abraxas, I am in such a mood to go have a cigar right now. I'm like, I can't wait to get home and light up. I wanted to take a moment to thank you, John Kraft, for bringing in Long Drink, for
Cheers, guys.
for
Cheers.
giving us
Cheers.
what has amounted to be a really terrific sampling of this product. And I'm going to tell you, to anyone out there who likes the idea of hard seltzer better than they actually like hard seltzer, and I would put myself in that category. Like, I love the idea of it,
Yeah.
because I love drinking just regular non-alcoholic seltzers. It's a great, refreshing thing to drink. But I've found myself disappointed in so many of the hard seltzers. It just doesn't really do it for
Because
me.
they all taste like crap.
Right.
There's a couple of them that are pretty good.
Yeah.
And actually, I was
We've talked about
inspired by
Topo Chico.
I was inspired by Eureka Heights has one. Their seltzer line is called Fizzy Pants.
I've seen that.
And,
Great name.
Yeah. And their grapefruit one has almost no sweetener whatsoever to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I was inspired by that, and I took one of my favorite fizzy drinks at the house, just the unsweetened flavored water, carbonated water, and poured some vodka in, and came up with a pretty good drink just like that.
Well, I was going to say that
was amazing.
That was going to be my suggestion to people who really want hard seltzer but don't want that aftertaste. Is just put some vodka in it. In the case of Long Drink, they've gone
if you
with
want a
gin.
little sweetener, and this is
Yeah.
gin based, and it's a beautiful gin
It's
floral.
really
It's
a
really
wonderful
nice.
thing. It's really a wonderful
So-
thing. And I'm a guy that if the gin gets a little too junipery, I don't really dig it so much. But this works perfectly for my palate. Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, again, thank you, John, for being on the show today. We appreciate it, and we're just going to give it a big thumbs up.
Thank you,
Huge-
guys.
Huge
Absolutely.
fans of what we've
Yeah.
tried it here on the show today. And tell Tiffany you're bringing her home some Long Drink.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Yeah, she wants to try that
Cranberry.
one, and the cranberry one's good. It's good, but I think I'll be picking up the
Some of the
strong
strong.
next time.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for this show. Next week, our old buddy and our official legal counsel for Smoking and Toasting, Trey Boring, will be joining us on the show. And Trey is anything but boring, but he will have a good update for us on where we stand on all this
Should
craziness.
be getting about the time of year for the cigar drive too, huh?
That's right. So I'm sure he'll be ready
Nice.
to talk about that. And then 2 weeks from today, it's finally here. We've talked about it for several years. The Great Smokin' and Toastin' Martini Challenge. Chris Morris, our cocktail expert here on the show, will be showing up along with a buddy of his who is going to prepare vodka martinis. Chris will prepare gin martinis, and it'll be the Great Martini Challenge to see if
It's
if
not
we
really-
can sway
It's
Ian.
not really a challenge.
Oh,
What it
just
is
stop.
you can have.
Just
It's going
stop.
to be a choice between do you like martinis or do you like kangaroos?
I'm telling you, you're going to have to drink the martinis. And then, once you've done that, you can say whatever you want.
See, if you say I'd like a martini, you just assume gin. If you say I'd like
no, you do
a
not.
vodka martini, you have to actually say that to people.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
All right, here's the thing.
And it's actually called a kangaroo.
You can keep spouting all of this as long as you want to. And if after you drink both of these martinis,
I'm pretty sure the word martini stems from the Italian word martini, which just means big ass shot of gin.
is that what it means? Because I've had a little bit
Okay,
of.
sometimes I make things up.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I love about you, my friend. No, but seriously, once you've had one of each made by an expert, then you can proclaim whatever you want to proclaim.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough?
It's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun show, and we're going to be drinking martinis, so nothing about that sucks. I promise you that. So I have one. And by the way, if you're a person who likes to make your own martinis, you'll want to watch closely at what these guys do. It was from Chris Morris, by the way, that I learned that I was doing it all wrong by shaking my martinis. I was being all James Bond, shaking them up. He's like, no, you don't want to shake your martinis. You want to stir them, and they're so much better that way.
I started stirring them at home too.
Love them that way. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. We're looking forward to the next several. By the way, the week after that, our old friend and whiskey expert Chris Hart joins us on the show. So we'll be looking forward to that as well. Yeah, that is the appropriate sound effect. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Thank you for being here for Smoking and Toasting. Thank you again, John, and cheers.
Cheers.
I'm out of LongDrink. I've got a tiny bit left of that.
I do have a Yeah, I like the original one. It's strong, especially. Actually, I like
Yeah, actually.
Sunshine is so good to you.